Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here really quickly and talk for a minute. I don't know that this will be a very long video because I've only got a few minutes on my phone left before it dies, and these guys are just not happy campers. Maybe I should just do the whole thing inside. In fact, let's do that. Let me get everybody inside. Okay, I am inside and finally found my tripod, and I got both boys down for a nap, which they desperately need. You guys, I don't want to say it's been a day because it hasn't. Overall, it's been a pretty good day. It's just been like the last couple of hours, but like kids are driving me up the wall. And before I get started here, I want to say that by no means am I complaining about having my children. I adore my kids, and trust me, I know how lucky and blessed I am to be having these problems. However, motherhood is emotionally and mentally taxing sometimes, and you constantly question yourself. You question yourself as a parent. If you've been good enough to your kids all day, have you been too hard on them? Have you been too easy on them? Are you doing the right thing by them? Were you patient enough? Baby's crying. Okay, hopefully the baby is settled and we'll go down for a nap. But as I was saying, motherhood, at least I don't even really remember where I was at, but motherhood can feel very isolating sometimes. When your kids act up, especially in public, you know that's a reflection on you, and people are judging you as a parent, like, wow, get your kid under control. And it can feel very isolating, and it can feel like the struggles you're going through are your struggles alone, because somebody else's kid might be acting like a perfect angel at the moment while yours is losing their shit. And for lack of better words. And it can be hard, and I make these videos to let other mothers know that you are not alone, and if you want to talk about what you're going through in the comments, by all means, feel free. Motherhood is hard. It is hard. It is exhausting work, not necessarily physical, though it can definitely be physical. I find it to really be emotionally taxing at times, not all the time, just at times. And again, I want to emphasize that I love my kids. I adore them. They are a blessing, and I know how lucky I am to have them. And 95% of the time, they are amazing. But there's about 5% of the time when they give me a run for my money. And oh boy, right? It's one of those things, like, right? Like, do I really want another one? Like, it's those trying moments that may not happen all the time, but when they happen, they make you really question what you're doing. Like, because as a lot of you guys know, we're talking about getting into foster care next year and having another kid. And for the most part, things are peachy. And I'm like, sure, we can add one more in the mix. But then every now and then, and it's not often, okay? It's not often. It's really not. I can't remember the last time we had one of these moments that really made me question having more children. It's been a minute, but they happen. And it happened today where I'm just like, do we want to add a third one to the mix? How am I going to handle this? And what happened was, well, it all started when I had to take the kids to Walmart with me, which I really tried this entire pandemic not to take my kids out in town. This is the first time since March that my children have been in a store. I have been very blessed to be able to keep them at home. I know not everybody has that as an option, but up until today, I've had that option to do so. But my husband had to go to the office today, and we had to go to the store to get some things. My mom's birthday is tonight, and we didn't get paid until today. So I had to go to the store and get some things. We're having a little cookout for her, and I had to take the kids with me. And we couldn't get it prior to today because we hadn't been paid yet. So it all starts with Levi wearing a pair of thong sandals. And he's had them before and never had a problem, but with this pair, he's walking around like he doesn't know how to walk with them, granted, again, my kids have been at home pretty much since March. We have taken them to grandparents' houses, so they've had to wear shoes to get to grandma's. And one time we took them over to my cousin's house, so they had to wear shoes to get to there. And I couldn't find his regular slip-on Crocs, so I just put him in a pair of thong sandals. And what I was getting at with that is that when we're home, and even when we're at grandma's house, and I think when we got to my cousin's, he went barefoot. My kid loves to be barefoot. He gets it from me. I'm always barefoot when I'm at home. He's hardly had to wear shoes since March. So I put some thong sandals on him, and we go out to town. He wanted to walk instead of riding the shopping cart, which I was all for, and I put baby Ira in the shopping cart, and we started walking towards the door, and he decides to kick his shoes off. And so, like, and it was a battle just from getting out of the car. He had his shoes off inside the car, which I told him was fine. I put them on inside the car, get him out of the car, he kicks them off. I put them back on him, get him around to the other side of the door to get his brother out, he kicks them back off. I get the baby out of the car seat, get his shoes back on him, because that's when I noticed his shoes were off, and get him over to a shopping cart where I get the baby. Well, on the way over, I parked next to the shopping cart corral, so we don't have to go very far. And so walking over to, I think we were like one spot away from the shopping cart corral. So walking over there, he kicks his shoes off in the middle of the street. Well, not in the middle, but like, you know, right behind an empty parking spot. And so he's standing there barefoot on the, I'm sure, hot asphalt. Like, I'm just gonna walk barefoot. And it's like, you have to wear shoes. And so I'm like hurrying him along to get him off the asphalt, to get over to the shopping cart that's in the corral so I can put the baby into the little car seat on the corral to get Levi back over. And it's really hard to do things lugging Ira around because he is my chunky monkey, and he's a two-hander, okay? Like, he's just a chunk. And so it's hard to like be holding him like with one hand and trying to like hold Levi's hand with the other, and then Levi takes his shoes off in the middle of the road, and I can't really bend down to get his shoes while holding Levi's hand, while holding the baby, because if I bend down while holding the baby, I've learned this from experience, the baby will unwrap his legs around me and just turn into dead weight, because that's fun. And then the baby's dangling, and I'm like, you know, one of those things. So I just leave the shoes, I hustle my toddler over to the shopping cart, I stick the baby in the shopping cart, and then I pick up my toddler and stick him into the basket part. And then I go back for the shoes and put the shoes into the shopping cart, and the whole time my toddler's like, I want to walk. And I'm like, well, you could be walking, but you keep kicking your shoes off, and you can't walk barefoot in the store. So I just made him sit in the shopping cart the whole time, and given the alternative between wearing your shoes and walking or sitting in the shopping cart, he decided to sit in the shopping cart and did not fight me anymore other than that. But that was still a lot. So we get our shopping done. He does amazing in the store. I let him pick out a Hot Wheel because he did really good in the store. Whoa. You know, we go on about our day. Get home. He had to skip his nap. The dog had a veterinary appointment at 3:30. Ira went down for a nap, but he only slept for like an hour and a half after we got all of our shopping done. He didn't get a very long nap in. So I had to wake the baby up to get him ready to go to the vet. I get everybody into the car. Levi's got on a new pair, or new to him, pair of sneakers. And we get everybody up to the vet. Everything goes smooth getting everybody inside. The veterinary clinic is really super helpful, and they sent somebody else out to get the dog. He's a big boy. He's 64 pounds. Found that out today. And he is like all muscle. He pulls a lot on his leash. So there's no way that I could do the baby, the toddler, and the dog all at the same time. So somebody thankfully came out and got the dog for me, and I just had to get the kids into the veterinary clinic. Once in there, they put us into a room with like a really big scale for the dog, and immediately Levi wants to go jump on it like it's a trampoline. And I had to get him off of it and tell him, like, you can't play on that. Like, you know, that's not ours. It's the vet's. Like, you don't like it when your toys get broken. Like, trying to explain all this. And in case you're new to my channel, my toddler is 3 years old, 3 and a half, almost 4. And my baby is 1 year old. And so I'm trying to explain with him, like, hey, you can't be jumping on that. And then, of course, he's being loud. So I have to be like, you know, inside voices and, like, trying to, you know, keep everything calm. And kids will just, you give them an inch, they take a mile. and the vet tech said that he was okay and he could sit on it. And so I was like, okay, you can sit on it, but we're not jumping on it. And so he sits down and starts kicking it, like sitting on the edge and then doing one of these things and slamming the back of his heel into the scale. And so I have to get on him for that and tell him we can't kick the scale. These scales are expensive. My brother-in-law is a veterinarian. The reason we didn't go to him is because our dog is a rescue through the Humane Society, and we got one free veterinary checkup by a veterinarian who's affiliated with the Humane Society. So after this checkup, and he has to get a booster, we'll be going to my brother-in-law after this. But we got one free checkup from this veterinarian clinic that was associated with the Humane Society. So that's why we went there. But I remember my brother-in-law talking about getting all of his weights and stuff, not weights, his scales for his clinic, and talking about how expensive they were and like all this stuff when they were opening their clinic a couple of years ago. So I didn't want my son messing around with it. That stuff's expensive. So I had a notification come in. So he's sitting there and he's kicking it and he's screaming and like talking real loud and just being a Levi. And I'm trying to tell him like, hey, you know, inside voices, we have to bring it down. And so he brings it down and then he goes right back up. And he's kicking it, and I'm trying to get him to stop kicking it, so he stops kicking it, and then he starts slamming it with his hands. And he's like, you can't do that either. Like, you can sit there, but you can't, like, beat the equipment, you know? And just pushing buttons, y'all. Pushing buttons. And he didn't get his nap today. He's down for a nap right now. And he better be taking one, because, good Lord, he needs it if he's going to be up when his grandparents come over. But when, you know, he doesn't get his nap in and he starts hitting that wall, he starts pushing all the buttons and just being kind of unruly, which I don't think is uncommon for a kid. When they get super tired, they start getting cranky, and then it's just like, you know, madness. And of course, baby Ira is not happy either because he didn't get his full nap out. So he's getting cranky and he's getting fussy, and his pacifier is not doing it, and he doesn't want his bottle. Well, he's on a sippy cup now, but he's not wanting a sippy cup, and he's just not happy. The keys, I gave him my car keys. That entertained him for a little bit, and then he's not happy with those either. So I got him doing baby stuff, pushing buttons in that way, and I got Levi pushing buttons in all the toddler ways. And the thing that just made my heart about stop, just about gave me a heart attack, was the worst part of this entire day. And again, overall the day has not been bad, but this one part just made my stomach sink to my, made my heart sink to my stomach. Just, it gives you all the emotions, and your immediate reaction is to go to the worst possible outcome, and all of this is happening in split seconds. We are leaving the veterinary clinic. The parking lot is not necessarily super large, but it is like rectangular. And the way it's set up, there was a car parked, it was an SUV parked by the door. And I could see my car across the parking lot, across from it, but I could not see any traffic coming from the other end. And the vet tech is behind me with Yoshi, who is our dog. And then I'm holding the baby, and I've got a hold of Levi's giant stuffed dolphin, Dave the dolphin. And because Levi had to have him come inside with us, and I thought, okay, maybe if you bring in Dave, like, you'll be quiet and you'll hold Dave. No, he held Dave the whole time, but still ornery. So I'm holding Dave so that Dave doesn't get dragged across the parking lot, and I've got Levi's hand in the other, and we get up to the end of the little sidewalk, and for a split second, I think to myself, I should, you know, have Levi stop and check both ways for traffic. But then I'm thinking, like, you know, this vet tech behind me is like wanting to get back to work. I'm sure, like, she was super sweet, so I'm sure she wouldn't have said anything. But my thoughts was like, you know, she probably wants to get back to work. They're kind of busy. Like, I don't want to be an inconvenience. She already has to bring my dog out to the car. Like, we'll just walk on out. And again, all of this happened like a split second. So like right at the end of me having that thought of telling Levi to check both ways, he yanks his hand away from mine and books it across the parking lot. And my heart immediately sank because I cannot see any oncoming traffic because of this SUV. And I yell for him, and normally when I yell his name, he will stop, but he just ran faster. And he's a fast little booger. He loves to run. Like, he, instead of playing with toys outside, he'll get outside and want his running music on and just run laps around the yard, okay? Like, that's like his spare time hobby. Loves running. he books it. And so I take off holding my baby, running across the parking lot, trying to stop my toddler. And thankfully, there was no oncoming traffic, nobody pulling into the veterinary clinic, which if there had been, they could have seen him. But him running out from behind this SUV, if there's anybody leaving the veterinary clinic from the opposite direction, they may not have seen him in time. And that just, my heart sank. And my immediate thoughts went to the negative of like, he's gonna get hit by a car, and just panic. Like the kind, like get your adrenaline going and just exhaust you, because you're just like, you know, my kid's gonna die, is the exact thought process. And he gets halfway across the parking lot, and again, thankfully nobody was leaving, nobody was coming in, no moving vehicles, thankfully. But he gets halfway across the parking lot and his shoe slips off. It's his first time wearing shoes that have laces, and one of them had come loose, and I think he stepped on it. Either stepped on it or it had come loose enough for the tongue to come up, but his foot came out of the shoe and he face planted and skidded. And I was so like worked up and frustrated at this point, because again, I've got like a very unhappy 1-year-old on my hip. I've got the vet tech behind me. Like again, she's been super sweet, but like I feel bad that like they have to come out and like bring my dog in and take the dog back out, because he pulls so hard on the leash. There's no way that I can do all three at the same time. And so I'm feeling bad to take her away from her job. I've got the baby who is not happy, and then I've got a toddler in the middle of the parking lot on the ground screaming and crying. And I walk over and I just, you know, grab him by his hand and get him up, you know, on his feet. And I'm like, hey, like, you know, this is why you can't pull away from me. Like, you have to stay with mommy. And I march him over to the car. And I'm just so flustered at this point, because again, I feel like the way he's been behaving in the veterinary clinic is just a complete reflection on me as a parent. And even though I know that he is tired, hasn't had his nap, has been on the go all day, and is just like hitting a wall, and that's why he's acting up, I also know that not everybody else around me understands that's what's going on, and that otherwise he's pretty well behaved. And so I'm just feeling all kinds of flustered, and I work on getting the baby into his car seat first, and then I pop the trunk for the vet tech, and then I noticed the vet tech talking to my son, and they go, you okay? And like, and then I just felt bad, because I'm like, why am I not asking him if he's okay, right? Like, I'm just so focused on getting everybody to the car and everything put away, and making sure the shoes picked up out of the street, and like the baby's put into the car seat before I drop him, and like the trunk door is open for the dog, that I'm like, I don't even stop to think to ask if my toddler is okay, because I'm just so flustered with everything else going on. And then I feel horrible about not checking on him. Like, from a logical standpoint, like, I know he's fine, and I know he said he face planted, but he didn't really face plant. Like, he fell, like, you know, he fell down, but he didn't hit his face. He landed on his knees and his hands. And anyway, so then I'm just left like, not only am I feeling flustered, and not only am I feeling like emotionally taxed after that experience of him just darting out into traffic, and like my emotions just jumping everywhere of thinking he's gonna get hit. Now I feel horrible because I just got so worked up that I didn't even think to stop and ask if he's okay. And the end. Like, motherhood is a lot of work, and I make these videos because I want other moms to know that they're not alone, and that if you go through these exact same emotions with your kids, it's normal, and you're not alone, and you're still a good mom. Don't beat yourself up, because trust me, I know we are our own worst critics. And I felt horrible after all of that. And you know, he's okay. Like, he didn't scrape anything. He was fine. It shook him up, you know, it was scary, of course, but he was otherwise okay, which is good. And you know, it's just one of those things where it's just, you get so caught up in the emotions and the panic and the, oh my gosh, like, is my kid gonna get hit by a car, that like once you know they're not getting hit by a car and they face plant in the road, that you're like, oh, thank God you're only face planting in the road, you know, like, if that's the worst that happens, I'm fine with it, you know, like. So it was almost like a relief to see him face plant instead of him getting hit by a car, which I'm sure that's not what the vet tech was thinking. I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I can only assume, like, she probably wasn't worried about him getting hit. I don't know, maybe she was. But as soon as he slipped away from me, I booked it trying to run after him. Well, I called his name once before he got to the end of the SUV. He wasn't very far, a few steps away from me. And now looking back, I wish I would have just, you know, took a few fast steps and snatched him. But again, like, normally when I call his name, he stops and will come to me. But he didn't this time. He just booked it and ran faster. And it just was a stressful moment, and now I just feel exhausted and just like emotionally drained from that. Nothing like thinking your kid's about to get hit by a car is just, it's a lot. So anyways, yeah, that's my story. I just thought I'd come on here and share because, you know, it helps me to be able to vent, and then I know other moms out there who watch me, you guys feel a sense of solidarity, and you're like, oh yeah, been there, like, you're not alone, like, I've been through it too, you know, like, it happens. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I guess I'll catch you guys in my next video.